everybody, welcome to Ellis Mowers. Y'all see this vehicle in the background on a lot of my mower videos, and y'all ask for things different sometimes. So we're going to give you something a little different today. I got to work on my Honda Element here. Just cleaned it up just for this. Not really, but it has, so 04, this one's got it's all-wheel drive, it's got the 5-speed manual in it. Noticed yesterday that the clutch slave cylinder is leaking after 216,000 miles, so everything wears out eventually, even on Hondas. So we're going to replace that today. The guy at AutoZone actually, get y'all off the tripod. The guy at AutoZone actually was like, they made these in manuals? I was like, yeah. They didn't make many of them. We got the all-wheel drive manual variant, which seems to be the most desirable of these, honestly. So I've had it a little over 5 years, and this one will not be for sale anytime soon. Real quickly, all I've done is like a right rear brake caliper and put the radiator in at about 200,000 miles. Had to put an O-ring in the coolant temperature sensor because that's where it was actually leaking from. But 200,000 miles out of a radiator, pretty good. 216,000 miles out of a vehicle, pretty good. Got some .3 brake fluid. The receipt. All this was about right at $50. Here is my unit. Even got instructions in it. It's Duralast CS2506 is my part number for this. That's what I cross-reference. So there's that. And thing about Japanese vehicles, metric. For $6.99, I bought a 10mm line wrench, which is what I'm going to need on this. Let me grab a flashlight. I will show you where the slave cylinder is on this, if I can. It's down there a little bit, but I think we can get to it with little trouble. Always got to look really hard. Give me just a second. Let's see. Because you have access to two 10mm bolts. It's very somewhat troublesome to find. Sorry, guys. It's down there somewhere. Let's see. Because you can see the bolts from up here. You just have to be very cognizant of where they're at. Let me locate them for you really quickly, and I will show you where they're at. I think I got to take the battery out of it to get access to it. I had it yesterday, but it's like an enigma trying to find it down there. So I can show you from underneath, or I want to show you from up top. So let me locate it, and I'll show it exactly where it is, and I'm going to figure out how we're going to access this. We might have to take off this breather, and almost definitely I think we're going to take the battery off. Alright, of course I turned the camera off and I located it. It's further up than I thought. I'll show you where it's leaking at under the car, or under the Element, real quick before we go. But I'm going to just put the GoPro down there. I'll show you where the two bolts are. You might actually be able to see them where I'm at. Let's see. I just had it on my test run. Give me a second. So there they are, the ones on the bottom of the screen there. They're two 10mm, and that's all you need to get it out. You can access it pretty easily from the top, it looks like. I'm going to get a couple of long extensions down there, and I'm going to just take it out. 10mm, like I said, 10mm long extension. This is the upper radiator hose. I'm not going to remove that. I might remove the battery for better visibility, but I think I can take it out from under it if I need to. There's a lot of room under there. So I apologize it took me a second to find it for you. It's always a little difficult to find these parts sometimes. And again, I work on cars, but that's just not my expertise, so to speak. So 210 mils, I will take that off, and then we will attempt to see if we can get this the line off, which I might try and attack from the bottom. So let me figure out my plan of attack. For that, I might try and get the line off first before I get the slave cylinder off. It just all depends on what I can do. Alright, y'all, I'm taking the approach. I can't really get a good grip on that. They're actually 12 millimeters, so I apologize for saying that they're 10. So I'm taking the battery out. Obviously, you just take the two terminals off, and you take the mounting bracket off here, which I kind of already had a little loose. But this was these are aftermarket mounts anyways. Probably should switch them out for something a little bit more sturdy. Here you got some pliers to take that off. But all I gotta do is take that off, take the battery off. Obviously I got a little corrosion here I need to clean off anyways. So take these off, take the battery out, and that should allow us better access to get down into that slave cylinder area. Or at least maybe I can get an impact on it from up top. Now, like I said, I don't need to move this radiator hose. That's really my next biggest thing in the way. Aside from this, actually the battery harness is the next biggest thing in the way. I can disconnect that if I need to. Let me get the battery out. I'll let you know what I end up doing. Alrighty, y'all. Battery box and everything is out. Let me show you my setup down here. I got the 2 bolts loosened. I tried with just a small impact, and then I went to a 3/8" drive ratchet, and I was able to bust them loose. Now I'm just taking them out. Once I take them out, my plan is to just pull that thing up through there. So that's one. I'm gonna hand loosen it here. I don't know if I can get it in a position for y'all to see what I'm doing. Kind of. And in theory, it's just 2 12 millimeter bolts, and this thing's out, so. Let's see. And I just got to figure out the steel line situation. I just got to get a line wrench on it. Most of the videos, other videos I saw on YouTube were people just replacing the whole slave cylinder, master cylinder assembly, excuse me, I didn't mean to make it so dramatic. So, alright. Because I can't really get a 10 mil and line wrench in there very well. But, as you can see, it's honestly that easy to get it off. I mean, it's that easy, so. Let me figure out how I want to do this, because obviously I got a steel line here. I need to get a line wrench on it. Maybe I have room now to get it on there. Let me see. Yeah. I put some lube on this last night in preparation for this today, so hopefully I can. Hopefully I can get to it where I can get it off. That's my biggest wild card in this whole ordeal. Because I've got to get that line off. I could attempt to to take it off back here in the back. That seems like it's a little more rusty than even right here in the front. Let me show you back here in the back. See right there in the back, that line that you're looking at right there. I could potentially access that from the bottom, but I would like to get it off of the slave cylinder proper because I've got to do that anyways. So let me go under the vehicle, see what I can find, and see if I can figure out a better way to get this 10 mil off, because I honestly don't want to have to take off the whole deal here just to get that line off, because the rest of the components are good on this. So, and slave cylinder portion is the only one that's not. So let me figure out my plan of attack. I'll be right back. Alrighty, y'all, making progress. What I ended up doing, that steel brake line goes right onto that clip right there. That clip will most likely break. The one I got the light shining on right there. That clip will most likely break when you pull it apart, just because of the age and condition of the vehicle. I also took apart the positive, or the whole wiring harness battery deal here. It fits into this little, I guess, sleeve that attaches onto the battery. I don't know how well I can show it to you, but it attaches onto the battery, and you just take the tab and you just push the tab out, and that'll allow you to get the harness out of the way of the battery, or out of the area. And that gave me enough room and to get me up here without stressing the brake line too much. And now we're going to try and take this brake line off. We got a line wrench here. I believe it's a 10. So they say it is. And now I just got to provide some leverage. Let me see if I can do it on camera, or if I'm just going to have to tell you. I think I'm just going to provide some leverage to try and get it off. Break the line. I don't know. I'm going to have the ability to get it off the way that it is. Trying to. Oh, I do not want to have to take the whole assembly off of this thing. Let me see if I can find, I might wire brush it a little bit, see if I can fix so it doesn't bend. But like I said, I don't really know if I'm gonna be able to get it off without taking the whole thing off. We'll see. This was my biggest worry though, trying to get these lines off, especially since they're a little corroded and rusted, but we'll get there eventually. Alright, after a few minutes I got some success. I was starting to take things off. I was about to get after that air box. As you can see, I was starting to. Let some penetrating oil sit for a little bit on it. Some PB Blaster. And I'll get those in a minute. See, I was starting. This is like, I guess they call it a floating fitting because it'll try and turn. This is 17 millimeter under this 10 millimeter. It'll try and turn with the brake line as you're adjusting the slave cylinder. So you have to put a wrench on that. And now I finally got it broke loose. I did bend the line some. However, I did not break the line, which is a good thing. The line is a little rusty. And before I mess myself up on this, let me go ahead and get a rag underneath me. That way when all this mess comes out, it doesn't come on my nice, beautiful paint. Because it is brake fluid, so you don't want to have that mess on your paint. We can get the rest of this line off. We'll clean it off here as soon as we get it off. I'll tell you what, this line wrench was well worth the $7 I paid for it. I was sitting there, I was like, man, I think I need a line wrench. Yeah, buddy. Now we just gotta get it off, which it should come off rather easily now. Obviously, it's going to leak fluid all over the place, but that's just what happens when you're working on a hydraulic system. This is probably how I'm going to reattach it too, so I don't have to worry about trying to finagle with it. Right where I'm trying to position the slave cylinder under the car itself when I'm mounting it to the transmission. Dare I say it, but the hard part about this job is over. Pending that I don't screw up any lines, the hard part about this job is over. Alright, so it's off. This is where it was, let me get it away from the vehicle real quick. This is where it was leaking right here in the bottom of the dust fitting. As you can see, it's all I gotta do is pull it out and it's leaking pretty good. So that dust, or I guess that dust fitting failed on it. No biggie. You can see that the fluid's a pretty rough shape anyways. So I think I'm going to try and suck some of the fluid out of it when I bleed it. I'm just going to bleed it until it gets clear again. And I got, like I said, I got 32 ounces of brake fluid here. So just making sure that I have no issues. Sorry about that. Making sure I had no issues with it. I was told these things are extremely difficult to bleed. We're gonna find out. So it's off. I got the new one. Let me get my hands cleaner and wipe off that stuff I got on the fender, and I'll continue on. Alright, y'all. Let's compare the old one and the new one really quickly. So they're a little bit of a different design, but they're the exact same. See like how they're mounted. Oops, excuse me, how they're mounted. Basically the exact same. So from what I can tell, the length from the boot and the mount, so that's good. Now the fun part begins. But hopefully it really is more fun than trying to get that line off. Taking off this little cover, which I just did. So now the fun part begins, like I just said. We're going to install the line into this. Let's see, it's gonna... I think it'll mount like that. So gonna put it on there the way that it is supposed to mount. Again, you have to be very careful. You don't want to cross thread anything right here. So get your first few threads in. I get the wrench back, 17. Well, I can understand why people will take the entire assembly off to try and do this, because this can get a little tricky if you're not careful. Again, we're going to have to bleed the master cylinder too, obviously, once we get it back down there. And I'm going to have to be very, very, very careful with the lines. Yeah, I mean, because there's a little bit of rust and corrosion on them, but nothing that's... I mean, I don't even live in a rust state anyways. So this car came from, I live in North Carolina. This car came from Leesburg, Virginia. Not too far out of DC. So it got exposed to some elements here and there. As you can tell. But we're just putting the line wrench. We got it. We didn't cross thread it, which is good. We're going to get it nice and tight onto this fitting. Don't over tighten it. Let me go one more go here. That's good enough for me. It ain't going to go anywhere. So that's that floating fitting that I was talking about, where it just moves around on me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take the dust cover off of this bleeder screw too, because apparently it's, I don't know where that went, but apparently it's a little bit of a pain to do the bleeder screw as well, or to access the bleeder screw on this. So let me just get this thing wriggled down in there. Give y'all a little more height as well. We're just going to knock it back down in there, into the slot there, into position. I'll do my best to show y'all how to do that. And obviously what we have done is we have evacuated all, basically most of the fluid out of this too. We're going to have to bleed this thing, so that's going to be the next order of business. You don't have to do it with the you don't have to do it with the battery in or the engine on. You bleed it like you bleed brakes, essentially. Alright, now the fun part. Let's get it back down in there where it's supposed to go. very carefully, very, very carefully. Let's see. I think that's it. I have to get it back around this positive cable here, I think. Get it under it. There we go. Again, careful. Last thing you want to do is bust a line. Okay. Got it down in there. I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show you how I'm going to mount this back on, but we're going to try. Just get my light situated right first. Right there. Okay, let's get this thing lined up. Oops. It stays right there, we'll be all right. Wish I had a better place to hang this light at. That was out of the way. That'll work. Okay, let's see what we got here. Kind of caught now. Twisted around on me. Sorry if y'all can't see it. Oh, I got you up down here anyways. So the goal is to get this on right here. I have to bend the line a little bit to do it. So close. You have to push this in as you're. Alright, that's in. Now, I just have to mount it to the mounting holes here, which might be the more difficult thing to do. And then, there we go. And then I just put my bolt in, and I'm good. I'm in good shape. And one last thing, make sure your steel line goes on this side of the bracket. And obviously I'm going to have to get something to tie it down with so that it doesn't rub against that post there. I'm going to put those bolts together, and then we're going to bleed the system. Alrighty, y'all, let's go to a journey under the element. I did jack it up. There's a jack point right there, right on the subframe. Put the jack stands on. These are the non-recalled Harbor Freight jack stands. So, let me pop this under here. Let me show you where I'm going. I took off the little clips that held on the bottom portion of my little plastic skirt here. What I have done, I don't know how well I can show you, but I'm going to try and get the GoPro up there. I have put the 8mm wrench coming from underneath onto the bleeder screw, and then I put a little pipe and attached it. And it's about a, I don't know, this actually came off a pressure washer, so got to have some sort of mower thing on it, right? So what's going to happen now is I'm going to get a bottle, fill it with brake fluid, pop it down here on the bottom, make sure that the tube gets or stays in the fluid there, and we're going to bleed this thing. We're not going to gravity bleed it. I've already got the bleeder screw loose as well. You just turn it to the left. It's an 8mm. We're going to give it probably a crap ton of pumps in order to get all that mess off. But make sure you get a tube long enough to where you can stick a bottle on it. That way you don't suck any air back whenever you're trying to bleed the clutch pedal. And hopefully we'll feel it. I've never bled a clutch pedal before, so this is fun. This is hopefully a learning experience for me and for you if you are trying to do this. So let me go grab a bottle, and I'll be right, and fill it up with some brake fluid, and I'll be right back. Okay, y'all, I've got brake fluid down here. I've got the hose down in it. I'm gonna move it over here just so that I can have good access to the, good access to the bleeder screw. We're gonna have to bleed a mess out of this thing, I can already tell. It even says, oddly enough, in the description of the slave cylinder, it says, difficult to bleed, no joke, on the AutoZone one. So we'll see. This slave cylinder reservoir is very small. I'm just going to take some brake fluid. I had a little bit left from a previous job. I'm going to top it off. Alright. We're going to be repeating this process very frequently. So, all I'm going to do, like I said, I topped off the brake fluid. Hop in. I'm going to push the clutch down a few times. Here, I'll even show you. Because right now the clutch obviously has no rebound on it because it is oh, we're already getting somewhere. Let's check. Let's check our reservoir. Still doing good. I'm just going to finish doing that process, like I said. We're already getting some feel in it, right? Not pushing down as hard anymore. It's a little spongy still, but sorry if y'all can't see that, but I'm just basically pushing the pedal down. Oh, interesting. The bottle came out somehow. Oh, the bleeder came out. Darn it. So let me find a tighter hose to fit on there. The bleeder hose came out. Darn. So I'm not spraying everything all over the place. And we'll continue. But I'm already starting to get pedal feel, which is good. Alright, so we got the rhythm down now. You got to check your reservoir very frequently. Probably, honestly, every 5 pumps or so. It uses up some fluid pretty good. And check out what is coming out of this thing. So we're just going to keep flushing until I see some clear stuff coming through there. And we'll keep rolling on. And also, I don't know if we can see some air bubbles, but I'm gonna put you right here while I put some brake fluid in it. Again, you just continually top off your brake fluid. Because the last thing you want is to have it almost bled out and you realize that you ran the slave cylinder or the master cylinder dry for the clutch. That's not fun. Let me show you. Like I said, I'm going to show you a couple of pumps of what I'm doing since I didn't show you very well last time. But again, it's just pedal. You'll feel more resistance in the pedal as you get more fluid out. So not a lot right now. But if you go down here, you can kind of see it. You see it pushing through. And it's much clearer than it was. It will eventually, once you stop seeing air bubbles in that hose, and constantly check the level. So I'm still a little bit above the minimum. But again, top it off. Continue to top it off. Continue the process. And eventually you'll get good pedal feel. You'll eventually get good pedal feel, and you just keep watching for air bubbles. See if you see any air bubbles. When you're constantly pumping and you don't see any more air bubbles, then that's a good point to stop, test it out. I need to put the battery and stuff in it, but you know, close the bleeder screw, test it out, see if it works. It's good to grab a helper, so I'm going to grab my fiance here, and she's going to help me push the clutch in. Here just to test everything out. But I'm going to keep doing the process that I just described to you. Alright, so all I did was repeat the procedure. Again, I got a little bit of brake fluid spillage. You're going to do that. Just make sure if you get it on the paint, clean it off. I probably filled about 2 of these bottles. This is the second one I just finished with. Getting it out of the way for right now. I've got to do a lot of cleanup down here. I elevated it on a battery box just to make it a little bit less of a travel between the air hose and the actual clutch. So I did all that, made sure that there were no air bubbles coming down the pipe, or that all the little air pockets were removed. You might have some very minuscule air bubbles. Try and make sure that they all get out of the system. So now, I closed the bleeder screw that I showed you. Now I'm pushing on the pedal. It's a nice, firm feel. And it's consistent. So it's a nice, firm, consistent feel. We put the brake fluid cap back on, topped it off. I'm going to put the battery in it, and we'll go take it out for a little bit of a drive and see how it does. Alright, y'all, we're going to go take a drive with this thing, see how it feels. Feels good. Shifting into gear. That's a good thing. I feel it a little bit through the pedal when I do first. Actually feel them all just a little bit. Honestly, this thing's probably going to drive better too, because it had some rough looking fluid in it, that's for sure. Let's see what we got here. We're good so far. Second. Let's see. Clutch doesn't feel near as stiff as it did either, which is probably explains a lot. cruise. I hope y'all enjoy it. It'll be about 10 minutes or so. I might film the first couple minutes of it. Test. Yeah. I think we're alright. Driving through some neighborhoods here. It's just a lot easier to push the clutch down now too. It used to feel pretty stiff, probably because of that old fluid in it. Y'all saw how bad that fluid was. Let me take a right here. I got no problems with it going into gear. I just want to kind of cycle through it a little bit, just to make sure. Honestly though, for 216,000 miles, that's pretty good on the original slave cylinder. Might try and turn around here. Make sure it'll go in reverse. Because I did occasionally have the issue where I couldn't shift it into reverse very easily. It's doing beautifully. But the way I bled it, I was a little concerned if it was going to bleed correctly. But it's pretty obvious that there may be a tiny bit of air in the system, but I've gotten probably 99% of it out. So I'm going to keep driving it a little bit. I'll let y'all know how it ends up, and hopefully this was a successful swap. So thank y'all. Okay, y'all, apart from cleanup, I'm going to call this one done. Not too bad to do. You can do it yourself. Like I said, I'm not a car wizard by any means. That name's already taken anyways. Like I said, put the battery back in, clean the terminals and stuff up on it. And we look like we're in good shape. I don't see any leaks under the vehicle. The reservoir is still full from where we topped it off. So clutch feels good. Clutch feels lighter now too, and it doesn't feel spongy. It just feels lighter because it's that old fluid was causing some resistance, and once we flush that old fluid out, it's much happier. So glad how easy, compared to what a lot of other manufacturers do, how easy Honda made this. Again, I'm not even an expert. It took me, I guess 3.5 hours start to finish, and that's not even trying. So just get yourself an afternoon, a couple of ice cold waters or Gatorades or whatever you decide to drink. You can get that done. Again, I don't know if you're supposed to replace the master when you replace the slave cylinder. The only videos I saw out there were ones that you replaced all of the stuff in. So they took the whole system out and put it back in. So again, that brake line is tricky to get off, especially if it's a little rusted. But use some patience, use some lubricant, you'll eventually get it. So thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. We're going to close up shop here, and we might work on some more cars whenever it warrants, right? Hey, I hope this video isn't too long, but just kind of the way all my videos are. Thank you again. Hope you enjoyed the difference. I appreciate y'all watching as always. You can follow me at Ellis Mowers 09 on Instagram and Facebook for any real-time updates of what I'm doing. If y'all got any better ways to do this, or if you've done one yourself, let me know some tips. Love this to be kind of like an all-inclusive forum. Did I do everything right? What could I have done better? Just let me know. I'm always open, because cars are not my forte. I really enjoy doing mowers and stuff instead. But thank you again for watching. You can catch me Wednesdays and Sundays right here on YouTube, 8 o'clock. See you on the next video.